Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine. Not that I wish to imply you have been sleeping on the job. No one is more deserving of a rest, and all the effort in the world would have gone to waste until... well, let's just say your hour has come again. The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
Welcome back to another episode of Maximum Effort. We have a really special model this time. As a Dark Angels player for over 25 years, I was naturally very excited when Games Workshop announced they were waking up the Lion after 10,000 years of in-lore sleep. So one of the first things I did when this came out as an independent model is I picked it up from my local hobby store and brought it down to get started. One of my first observations on this model, first of all, there's a ton of parts for what's really just one character. And the base is gigantic. This is a monstrous character, so you look at that compared to a Terminator base, and you see that it is quite large. I will say as well, this model is a pain to put together. The cloak itself has, like, I think 6 parts at least. Once it was assembled, however, I got started with a quick spray of Chaos Black and went to work on the power armor, using a thin coat of Caliban Green to get it all started off. After that, I moved on to the Great Cloak. I decided to do the top side of it using Warpstone Green and the underside of it using Mephiston Red, planning to blend in the ins and outs of the folds of the cloak using lighter and darker shades where needed. While I'm waiting on that first coat to dry, however, I have a chance to see where I'm going to need to come back a little stronger for my second coat, and I used that time to start doing some of the base work, blending in the modeled part of the base with the rest of it using some Pro Acryl fine basing paint. Once the model was dry enough to handle again, I started doing some of my shade work. I started off looking for spots in the shadows on the power armor, where I was applying some Biel-Tan green to add depth, and then what I also started doing was some of the layering work on the cloaks, using varying degrees of mixtures of Warpstone green, Moot green, and Caliban green on the top side, and Mephiston red, Evil Sun scarlet on the bottom side. Once the shading was dry enough, I moved back to the power armor, blending in as much Warpstone green and Moot green as necessary on some of the high spots, and then coming back with a very watered down Caliban green to try to blend that into the plates of the armor as naturally as possible. I then moved on to some of the finer details on the model, and if you're using the box art as an example, there's quite a lot of opportunity to use metallics on this armor. Things like the rivets and the armor trim, I was mostly sticking to Leadbelcher and Runefang steel for the silver items, and anything gold or brass looking like the shoulder pads or the cape buckles, I generally stuck to Runelord brass and Retributor armor. That does it for part 1. A model of this complexity you definitely don't want to rush. In part 2, we're going to finish off the model, and then we're also going to discuss some of the rules. This is a model that came out towards the end of 9th, so we've had a chance to see 2 different sets of rules for this model, and I do think the 10th edition has some really interesting aspects to it.